Good morning, everyone. Good morning to all the wonderful audience who are here with us again to our finale session. We are back with our last and the finale session of this entire series of security. And as I promised on the other social media platform, this is going to be one of the interesting thing what we are going to do. And I do have different agenda in today's session. I'll make sure this is not technically overwhelming for you, as well as a good learning and as well as an interactive session. So again, if you have any questions like how we have done in the past, please put those all the questions in the chat. I'm pretty sure the panelists will be happy to answer them. And again, if you have any other questions about security, career on AWS, I'm pretty sure all the panels are very enthusiastic and excited about to talk to you guys and help you out. So don't hesitate to share the questions or interact with them. From an agenda standpoint, we'll start with the fire chat. So we'll have good amount of people who are working on security in and out. So we'll have those people talking about their experiences, expertise, the things what they see in the market, how they themselves design the workload. So we'll have them, we'll hear from them, then we'll switch our gaze and we'll learn about if you want to focus on security certification in AWS, how you can prep, what are the different materials and other stuff. And then we'll go about what are the different things we will be doing after the security bootcamp once it's done. Uh, Last but not the least, we'll also have a quiz, and we have the winners for all the events what we have done throughout the series, which is quiz, blogathon, and those kinds of other good stuff, right? So please stay tuned here, stay tuned with us. This is going to be really exciting. So let me not waste time and let me start getting to all our fire chat panels so we can start with our fire chat. Let me get first on the stage Mahima. So just to talk about Mahima Saran works as a senior account manager at AWS India, and I'm pretty sure she is very recognized when it comes to AWS User Group Mumbai. I think she has a lot of talks in User Group Mumbai, as well as outside Mumbai as well. Hey Mahima, how are you today?
Hi Sanjay, thanks for introducing me. So as Sanjay has already introduced, my name is Mahima Saran and I'm a technical account manager working with a lot of customers specifically in the FSI industry. And that is where I have seen the kind of things happening in terms of security, the concerns they have, how they deal with a lot of incidents that happen. So hopefully I should be able to share my knowledge and learnings with you today in today's session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahima, and I'm pretty sure you'll do it. But thank you so much for accepting our invitation. Next, I'll get Raji. So, talking about Raji, she heads the compliance and governance practice as TCS. I think she's one of our speaker as well as for the entire series and an AWS ambassador. Hey, Raji. Good morning. How are you doing today?
Hi, Sanchit. Good morning. And good morning, all. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining and helping us again to talk about your experiences, what you see, right, while working on the job and other stuff. So, thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Next, again, one of our speakers who are part of the entire series, Disha. So, I think she already covered about her expertise in, I think, fourth session, somewhere in the second or third week. She talked about how exactly you can play around with the entire compliances and all of the stuff. So, Disha, once again, thank you so much for accepting our invitation and to be one of our panel for the fire chat. I'm pretty sure the audience would love a lot from your day in, day out interaction, what you do with your customers.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sanchit, and good morning, everyone. Uh, I think I did have introduced myself in the before session as well, but I'll just take a few seconds. So, folks, I'm a technical trainer with AWS India team, and I do deliver sessions onto different domains, like security, of course, is one of them, to different customers globally. For this series, I think I have delivered one session on Macy and S3 controls. So in case if you have missed it, absolutely you can go and check it out. So today also I think we'll be having a lot of fun and a learning experience, and I'm here to share my experience with all of you. So yeah, excited.
Awesome. Uh, we have two more panels here. Let me get Shashank. I think Shashank is also one of the speaker. Hey Shashank, how are you? I think audience are very much missing you out after your first session. So I was like, let me get you as a panel. How are you doing today?
Hey, hi Sanchit. All good. Hope things are good at your end too, buddy.
Sure, yeah, all good. And just to talk about Shashank, I think he also has been part of the speaker. He also is a technical trainer at AWS India. And I think for all the folks who have been part of User Group Mumbai, I think you're pretty much knowing Mahima and Sashank because they have been to different events, different in-person events and other things. So yeah, Sashank, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
No, nothing much, Sanchit. I'll keep it brief here. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Thank you. And we have a rock star here, Faisal Khan. So we all know about Faisal when it comes to AWS User Group India, not how enthusiastic he is about the community, the things what he do for the community and all. And again, he's also one of our speakers. He's delivered the last two sessions about networking. So thank you so much, Faisal, for once again to be here talking about your expertise, what do you see? And I know this is a core what you love in and out to play around security. So thank you so much to be one of our panel here today.
Thank you, Sajid. Amazing to be here. And of course, thank you for doing these kind of sessions that hopefully will help out a lot of people in learning things about security. And happy to be part of this panel that's got amazing people on here as well.
Awesome. And just to talk about, Faisal is also an AWS user group lead Hyderabad, which is one of our community partner, as well as a community hero. So I think I've made sure that I get a vibrant panel today. So we have a very healthy discussion, having technical trainers from AWS, account manager from AWS, the compliance practice lead at TCS, as well as the community aspect from Faisal. So I'll stay as a moderator. I'm not to give my perspective here, but we have a very good panel here. And again, for all the audience, if you have any questions, please feel free to put in the chat. We have a very interesting and very rare. I think this is for the first time we are having this panel for the fire chat in any of the events, whether it's AWS or community. So you have a good opportunity to ask any questions about career, about security, or more of the resources you want to do hands-on. So with that, let me start with the questions. And from a format standpoint, again, this is a more interactive session. So I'll try to try to be fair to all the panels. I'll try to ask the questions. Again, it's on you. If you want to share some examples which you have seen in the past, feel free. Or if you want to pass to other panels, you can do that, right? So just more of an interactive perspective. The whole idea to make sure that the audience also understand different angles of your career when you're designing the application or solution for your customer, how they can make sure that what are your thought process when you're doing it, and as well as some resources and other stuff so they can also learn about it, right? So let me start with the first question with Raji. So I think majorly, I think as a part of your day in day out, what you're working as you're currently, right, as a TCS, I'm pretty sure you would have come across different scenarios where customers are moving from on-premise to the cloud, right? And obviously, they do, based on the industries and all, they do have certain kinds of requirement in terms of securities, compliances, or certain concerns also how AWS will be taking care of it. Would you want to share certain of aspect? How do you handle that scenarios, or how do you tell your customers that what kind of different things AWS offers?
Yeah, sure. So, Sanchit, I mean, gone are the days where customers or business had an option to move to cloud. Now, cloud is the destination, right? Today or tomorrow, all the systems that we are dealing with, it has to be migrated to cloud, and that's the route we have been taking, especially post COVID. And the I wouldn't say concerns, but it's more about what areas to focus on when you look at migrating. So the first and foremost would be on the data. So when they are moving their core data, which is so kind to them, which is so precious to them, when they move to a public cloud platform, what are the capabilities that AWS has to offer? So starting from how you can govern the data, how you can make the data compliant, how you can encrypt the data. So all of the services that AWS has, starting from the KMS, the Macy for detecting PII data, and governing the data in terms of monitoring it, whether it's a config with which you monitor, or you use a IDS service like Guard Duty. So I would say data is a topic which comes as one of the first and foremost discussion point, and then it's about how do you bring in innovation. So moving to cloud is fine, but if you don't scale up, if you don't accelerate the rate of innovation, and always when you try to innovate, security comes, right? It becomes like a blocker in the traditional world, but in the cloud world, we don't want to do that. So you want to innovate while you be secured. So how do we achieve that in AWS? So AWS has a lot of services with which you can experiment, do quick POCs, but at the same time you can build a baseline security and you can remain secure. So that's also one of the topic which comes. And the other one which I don't want to miss out is on the compliance and the regulations. So looking at the data breaches that we have, lot of government policies are coming into focus now. There are a lot of local data privacy laws which are coming up because of the rate in which businesses are getting targeted by cyber attackers. So there is also a mandate that you follow the local privacy laws. Each and every country have their own laws. And how does AWS help? So it has a variety of services like artifacts and compliance and config, and you can do a lot of automation around it. So it's a canvas is broad in AWS. So it's how much of automation you bring in, and how do you achieve the every requirement that you have for a modern cloud system.
Got it. No, I think that makes sense. I agree, Raji. I think that's the case. Let me pass on to Mahima this question. I think, Mahima, as you mentioned, right, you work in and out with insurance customers and other, where I'm pretty sure they have the sensitive data and other things. So what do you see trend in the market, Mahima, in terms of hesitation?
The first and foremost thing which I have seen whenever customers are moving to cloud, we have seen that customers believe that by default, whenever they are moving to cloud, they would be secured, and AWS is going to take care of the entire security, which is not the case. So AWS always follows a responsibility model. I think we have already covered during our lot of sessions. But again, to emphasize that when you are moving to cloud, that does not mean that by default everything is now secure and you don't have to worry about security. There is a security paradigm about your application security, about the way you are giving access to your application, which becomes very, very important. So the very smallest thing which I'll tell you, day-to-day basis when I work with the customers, they will create a lot of users for logging into AWS, and they don't enable MFA specifically on their root account. And we often tell them that this is very, very critical. If someday any phishing happens, your entire account will be hacked and you won't have access to your own account. So MFA becomes a very small and least important thing which people think it will not have too much of impact, but it does have impact. Now, similarly, there are many other things like opening the ports to the internet. What I've seen is they open the port from anywhere, right? Which is one of the common mistakes that everyone do, and they don't realize that this becomes a very common ground for attackers to come into your application and start using your data. So whenever you are moving to cloud, that does not mean that you are by default secure. You have to make your environment secure by giving least privileged accesses, by opening only the information to the internet which is required, and not everything is available on internet from your application point of view. So yes, when customers start their journey on cloud, they have a lot of things as a learning phase. Initially, there are things which they miss. They don't even know that these are the things they have to take care of. But eventually, when they are interacting with AWS team, let's say if the customer has an enterprise support, then we regularly do these, security reviews for them. And same time, we have a lot of tools which actually help them in understanding and giving them a notification also that these are the areas which are not as per the best practices. And if you follow those best practices, even if you don't have an enterprise support, it is really going to help in securing your entire environment. So the one of the most important service which I always recommend every customer is Trusted Advisor. It's a free service, readily available to every customer in AWS, and it gives you a lot of information about your own environment itself, that where what you are doing wrong, what you are doing, how to fix it. So these are some of the areas, but yes, security is one of the most important thing in today's world. Even if you think you are an e-commerce customer, and let's say you are not an FSI customer, Even from an e-commerce customer perspective, it is very important to secure your business. Whether you are a small business or a large enterprise, security is equally important for every industry today. So it is not that security is important only for the FSI industry or insurance industries. It is equally important for very, very small businesses as well, because if some ransomware or attack happens, you are equally at risk of losing your business. So security is very important in today's world.
No, fair enough. I completely agree, and I think since you brought up a good point, right, that people do make this mistakes of security, opening the port 200, which is a very common way of invitation to anyone get into my account and do whatever you want, right? So that really puts me into another question. I think I'll pass it on to Shashank. I'm pretty sure, Shashank, I know you. How do you work and other stuff, right? What are the common mistakes do you see in terms of people doing? Because you already covered up that point in an
Yeah.
elaborated way in the first session, right?
Yeah.
So what do
Yeah.
you see people commonly making mistakes, whether in their day in day out job or while designing the architecture, which could be easily avoided by applying some best practices rather than being sorry for that?
Yeah, yeah. So I'll begin with this, like Sanchit. People treat dev, stage, and prod as three different environments on the cloud, and they try to push that code chalta hai attitude, and they just try to push it on dev and make it work. Sometimes the dev and stage are linked to the production database directly or indirectly. Yeah, you create an IAM user, you create policies role, the person inherits that, accidentally becomes a pseudo admin. You never realize that. So you have to treat all three environments as same. You have to have, shift left attitude that everything it begins from security at the developer's end only. So if there is a CV score which is high, or if it is medium also, if you know a bug, don't push it. Understand that it is going to haunt you today or tomorrow. So these are like small things, like Mahima said, like you invite people by keeping ports open, right? So there is a very good Bollywood line, I mean, Khuli Tijori, there's a word, you invite people to come and loot you off. So that's how you are attracting honeybees to come into your, environment and do everything bad to you. So it's all about, you need to have a stock count of how many ports are open, what port are open, why they are open. SSH, if you're doing it, it has to be via your IP address only, or admins only, not allowing the whole world to sniff and roam around it. So you need to know those things, like how much is needed, what is the minimum baseline. Like Raji said, minimum baseline has to be there. You can't have 100%, but at least start with the minimum baseline. And it's all about proactive monitoring. We do see newspapers 5.2 terabytes, 7 terabytes data got exfiltrated, but proactive monitoring is needed on cloud. You can't be like typical Bollywood police. You call something, it comes an hour later. You have to act, you have to auto triage, you have to remediate within seconds. So that's something which really helps you, rather than to be sorry. It puts you in a better shape. So
Yeah,
that's how
that
I feel.
to that point, I would definitely like to add one more point, which I've seen as the most common mistake across all customers is they create these bash and host or jump boxes, and that is the way they allow every developer in their organization to enter every box that they are running, every server that they are running, and this is something which they don't realize, that when some data is lost, they don't even know which user has logged in and what data has been lost because of which login. So even if at OS level logs, even at any kind of logs, it becomes really untraceable for them to understand, because every developer is using the same user ID and password to log into every server that they are running in their organization. So this is one of the very, very common mistakes that I have seen so far, apart from many other things. But bash and host is something almost all developers use, and instead of that, they should actually be using, authentication mechanism, where they use username and password in order to log into the servers or even to the bash and host, instead of having a very common username password used across all the servers.
No, fair point. Fair point. Faisal, do you want to add anything? Because I am pretty sure these are the common things you might see when you're working across the communities and interacting with different folks, right?
Yeah, I mean, all of the other panelists have kind of covered everything in terms of some of the common mistakes. But one thing that I would like to add here is that people kind of forget that no matter how many steps you take, you're never 100% secure, right? And because of that, like, they do all of these tasks in terms of securing their networks, um, but then they don't think about what happens afterwards. Like, what happens if someone's already got in? What happens if someone's already attacked your network? What do you do from there? And to that point, the concept about disaster recovery plans, right? So not a lot of thought is given to like disaster recovery when you talk about security, because you're really talking about protecting yourself for something, but you don't think about what happens afterwards. The issue here is that, are you like, can you, how soon can you recover from a security incident, right? uh, that's not kind of factored in with a lot of people when they build out their environments, and that's a mistake, because we've actually seen organizations completely get destroyed because their backups also got compromised, or because whatever disaster recovery plans that they had was also part of the cybersecurity attack, right? I don't quite remember the company name, but there was a company that literally went bankrupt because what happened was, um, the hacker that got into their network, they went in and deleted all of their backups that they had set up for S3. They deleted all of their archives and everything. So there was no way that they could recover from that incident, right? So a lot of people don't actually think about the recovery aspect of security, and kind of don't build that protection in when they do the backups. They just take a backup, right? They don't necessarily think about, is that in a different account, right? You don't necessarily keep backups in the same account, and of course, if you look at the best practices, you don't do that. And like, what kind of access is it? Is it only like a write access? Is the delete access removed? And these kind of things when you talk about backups. So that's the thing that I wanted to add.
No, fair point. I think what you mentioned makes sense, right? That how exactly you understand the sensitivity of your workload and just design that holistic approach, right?
So I
Which
think
also brings,
one point on mistakes. Before we move on from mistakes, see, what we need to accept is, in a cloud environment, mistakes will happen. It's not practically possible to make sure that every developer follows the best practice. So it's the thinking approach that we need to apply here. In the traditional data center world, people used to follow this approach of blocking everything, blocking A to Z, and then whitelisting what is needed, right? So that's the same approach we should follow in a cloud platform as well. And AWS has something called AWS organizations, which every team, no matter how small or medium they are, they have to start their foundation with setting up an AWS organization and restricting whatever we feel is vulnerable at the OU level. So use policies, use service control policies, and restrict first, and then you enable for certain accounts or for certain users who you feel should have those kind of elevated permissions. So look at prevention as well, right? Not just look at detection. Prevention is very important, and then bring your detective controls. So when you don't allow, then there is no question of over privileges, because you have to restrict and then allow. So that's the approach I would take.
no, fair point. I think you made a very good point, Raji, right? Start with always deny all and then
Yeah.
go with the least privilege access. Let's go that strategy. And I think I'm pretty sure AWS do always mention that whatever it is, let's start with the deny all approach kind of stuff, right? So before we move to the next question, I think our audience are very excited, so I don't want to make them wait here. And there are a couple of questions which that has come up. I'll pass it on the first question, right? So Disha, I'll request you to, if you can help this one. What will be the best way to access instance through? Is it a session manager or using workspace for the customer? This is from Mohammed.
Okay, so I'm just going to take up this question. What is the best way to access the instances through session? Okay, yeah, session manager is said to be one of the best practices because it also records on which session was logged in at what time. Basically, what I have seen is what customers do or what people, while accessing their instance, they'll just, again, coming back to the square one, they'll just keep the ports open and allow the access from the putty or the terminal, which one or the other way, again, in case if the private key is something which is compromised, it can be a security threat. So this can become one of the best practices. Also ensuring that one very common, again, coming back to the mistakes that people make, the logs that are collected, right? We tend to take it very leniently. It's just like a big data, and we tend to, like, go and actually analyze those logs after once in a quarter or so. And after 3 months, we are able to realize, okay, this is something which has happened, and now I have to go and take up any follow the best practice. Where we are late, so that big data which is kept, which actually can generate a lot of insights, which in world of security we call it as observability, right? So analyzing this, like for example, sessions manager data, your access log, that is very important. And moreover, just to ensure like we are not waking up at 3 a.m. and checking, okay, what went wrong in terms of disaster recovery or so. Folks, automation is something which is very important. Automation and standardizing the best security practices. So yeah, session manager can be one of them, although we have other different methodologies also, which helps us to keep a track of, for example, CloudTrail, on who has logged in, what were the API call made. So again, analyzing and observability is a key factor here. Yeah.
Got it. There's one more question which I'll open for all the panels. Is it recommended to use EC2 connect method frequently to connect EC2? Anyone wants to answer this?
I think he's talking about the connect method from within the AWS console. Is that right?
Yes, that's
Right.
the instance connect.
Right.
Uh,
So
yeah,
yeah,
Faisal.
go ahead, Disha, if you want to take that.
No, you can absolutely go ahead.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say that those are kind of resources that you tend to use when you're using an account on an individual user basis. But when you talk about organizations, they have different methods that they use to kind of organize the connectivity to these instances. Some organizations follow the method of having individual user keys. When you connect to an EC2, you have the SSH keys that you use to connect, right? So some organizations actually take it outside AWS in terms of like authentication part, which is each user has their own EC2 SSH key, which obviously gets added to the instances that they want to get access to, right? That's one method. But if you haven't kind of built that already in, it is an option, but not recommended, because it is a black box option in the sense that you actually don't. I mean, you know what they tell you how it works, but you don't necessarily get visibility into, that actual connectivity taking place. So not recommended from a security perspective.
One additional point I would like to add, because I've seen one incident happening. See, when like Faisal was talking about that, when you have a direct SSH connect to an EC2 instance, you have a private key, the SSH key, right? That SSH key could be carried forward, and let's say an organization, an employee leaves, they would still have access to your box if they have not rotated the keys. So it's a big threat to any organization, and internal threats usually happen in this way only. But instead, if you're using the session manager, the user definitely has to have an access to the console, and that is where they would only be able to access. On top of that, you will also have CloudTrail logs to monitor that at what point in time the access happened, and which user authentication happened, what was the credentials which were entered, what all activity was done on the box entirely. Whereas if OS level logs and other logs are not primarily enabled on your SSH box, these kind of logs will be missing. And if any data theft happens, it will be very difficult for you to track it. Whereas with Session Manager, it becomes really easy for you to track all the activities.
No, I think that makes sense. And I think if I go back, Disha, I think you made up one important point, right? Which was around my second question about the balancing the automation, how we can plug that automation and all, right? There comes my next question, which I was about to ask is, many times people also think when they talk about the security, they take it so over engineering it, right? So how people try to balance security and the usability when they are working on any sorts of application, right? So again, it's always said, whatever you design, there are certain flaws that may come up, right? But somehow how you can balance both the things so you're not putting too much of your heads on security and you lost the track of delivering the application to the market or to your customer, right? So how you balance and how do you see customer handling that approach?
Sanchit, as one of the best practices, what I have seen, customers, they definitely, before deploying the environment actually in the target, or let's say the production environment, they will definitely have a proper testing that is done, which we call it as a pre-prod environment or a silos environment. Right, in which case whatever security practices, and again security is the best when you actually automate it, not a manual configuration. If you're trying to achieve, then we will never be able to achieve again the best practices. So creating a silos environment and having a test of it done is very important. So for example, if I'm talking about, let's say, what Faisal have said, that for the disaster recovery strategies, example, if your let's say application, before once you have deployed it, is undergoing a DDoS attack or any SQL injection attack, in those cases, as a developers, as a DevOps engineer, or as a security engineer, we tend to go into looking into the ways on, okay, what went wrong, and which is the IP address, or what are the list of IP. We go and tend to look into the security first, because again the best practice. But again, from a customer point of view, how customer is getting impacted, sometimes those points we miss. So absorbing an attack and ensuring that your customer doesn't gets to know, like, okay, something went wrong at our side, that is very important. Second, automating it is again very important. So let's say if yes, if an instance was compromised or is under a threat, we have a common IDS policies that we follow, like intrusion detection system, where the instance will go, the one which is hacked actually, which will go and terminate itself. It is one of the best practices that we follow. So again, just ensuring that you create a silos environment, a very common practice. What I suggest to the customers is try to inject the failures in the silos environment, where you can use a fault injection simulator, FIS. As an open source, we can also use Netflix Seminami, let's say Chaos Monkey or Chaos Gorilla, where we will try to inject the failures in the silos environment just to check like how much time it is taking it to recover, and is it able to absorb the actual attack, which can happen in the target environment. So testing is important, and automating, fixing that configuration part is very important. So a good recommendation would be testing everything in a silos or a pre-prod environment is a must step in terms of security, as well as deploying the application in case if the application or the environment is going to be under threat. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I think
one thing also which I have seen is these days customers sees a lot of third-party tools available in the market which are offering various security services, and they do the over engineering part that you were talking about. So what they usually do is they purchase too many licenses of many tools, and they don't even know the context, that let's say if a threat has come or any particular thing has happened, if they have three different tools, they don't even know the context on which tool they have to look, how to trace that particular thing. Whereas if they have everything centralized, let's say if they have, instead of having four different monitoring tools, if they have a centralized tool where they can see all the logs, it will become easy for them to monitor. Similar way, over engineering means you don't have to purchase too many third party tools to secure your environment. AWS or any other cloud, they themselves are providing a lot of services. If you have them set up and configured properly, they are enough to give you the proper recommendations and alerts and notifications in time to proactively act upon it. So that is also one thought which I've seen many customers are having. They think if they have too many tools and every tool is offering them a different service, but at the end it becomes difficult for them to track the threats which, or the notifications which are sent by each of these tools. They don't even know which is a valid alert, which is a fake alert, which are false positives. So at the end, it becomes too much for them to even understand the context about security.
I think I'll agree with what Mahima has said. It's also sometimes like the less is more. Less is more in terms of like just ensuring that we are having lot many other tools to have that satisfaction or contentment. Like, no, I'm secure. That is something which is again a myth. So following the best practices in that way, and management is something that is one of the key reasons why people are migrating to the cloud, because we want to manage less resources and tools. But even if we are migrating to the cloud and we are using moreover like third party tools, again without testing, without having any kind of a context, it's a very big security threat.
Sanchit, I'd like to add a line or two. Yeah. I'll just add, there are multiple times when client is over enthusiastic. They are specifically on multi-cloud. They want too many tools. They don't want to use native tools because of the reasons known to them. Or what happens is, the CCOE team, the Center of Cloud Excellence team, Chief Information Security Officers team, and the implementation team, they all are not on same page. So someone drafts policies, someone is implementing that, but there is a drift. There's a drift in understanding. So there are times when people are not understanding. They have the preference. Hey, I know this particular tool. It's better not to use a native tool. I'll implement this only. So because of that, also there is too much conflict. So lesser the tools, better the tools. Native tools, if you leverage that, that's very important. Second, before you come to production, you have your landing zones. Have those landing zones designed in such a way that if you have one account, two accounts, 10 accounts, if you're a multinational company, you're acquiring companies also, all you have to do is just like Lego blocks, you're going to attach them to the existing one. So you have to think about a broader vision, not just currently now, but what in future if I want to expand. How am I going to do that? Lastly, I just want to add is like, if you have too many tools also, and if everything is doing or everyone wishes to be on cloud, so they are like, hey, Casby is also doing cloud. Your DLP also is acting on cloud. It is also offering SaaS license. Don't get into that trap. Understand which tools are needed. Likewise, in my first session, I had said you create that 5x5 grid. You need to understand you're going to protect application, people, network. You have to identify, detect, respond, and protect. Put that map, find it out, and remove all other tools. I mean, not needed. I mean, make it easy for everyone. And the very last one, in the RACI matrix, understand it's whose responsibility it is. Make that person responsible, accountable for it, and that person would never say, "Hey, I didn't know this," or "I was not supposed to do this." So you know whom to catch if anything goes wrong. So that's all about it, Sanjay. Over to you.
No, fair point. And that's Sashank, you give me a good idea or a good question for my next question, right? With that accountability standpoint, I'm pretty sure, and I think Raji also made a fantastic point. It's not only me; every one of us would have made some mistakes or learning, right, from the projects we worked on. So this is one of the question, and I leave up to all the panelists to answer this in a sequence, right? What are the challenges or the learning you have got while working on any project which you want to share with the audience, right? That, okay, hey, I made this mistake, I could have avoided it, maybe I was new at that time working on the cloud, or I didn't had any other option, right? So people can also learn from that experience. So I'll start with this question with Faisal.
Okay, is the question about what was the mistake you made and how did you learn from
Yes.
it?
Yeah.
Okay. Pick any mistake. I've made it like all of them, right? So there's no particular mistake that stands out. And it's in a way that when you do these things, when you practice, when you do the things on your own, it's better you make the mistakes then than try to make it in production. But one important thing that I would like to add here is that we all do make mistakes at the end of the day, right? And it's very important that we are actually transparent and communicative about it, because especially in our careers, when we do make a mistake that actually impacts, maybe it might not be a large impact, maybe it is a large impact, but if you don't immediately communicate the mistake that you've made, as soon as you identify it, if you don't immediately communicate the mistake that you've made, that actually leads to larger consequences. So if you realize that there's a mistake that happened, immediately communicate that to your team or to your management or whoever is managing the project for you, right? Because at that point, that can actually be remediated much more faster than you trying to fix it yourself, or you trying to not tell anyone, or you hoping that no one would find out. Because I mean, if any organization worth its salt has logging enabled and all of these analytics that run, so eventually it will be found out. Even if it is not something that impacted today, when there are audits that run, it will all be found out. So do not hide a mistake that you've made. communicated properly to your team, so that if there was something that was made, it can be remediated. I mean, at the end of the day, we are all humans, we all make mistakes. Don't ever think that you'll never make a mistake, or don't ever try to hide something that hoping that no one would find it out.
Makes sense, Faisal. Mahima?
So I think I recall one of the incidents. Like Faisal has already told that communication is important, but this is one grave mistake that I did. Uh, Over engineering. So following all the best practices. So when you are designing an architecture, and if you think that you are following all the best practices as per the recommendation of distributed architecture, distributed databases, everything distributed, so that proper decoupling is there, but sometimes monolith could also be one of the ways of doing things, right? And if you do the over engineering, what happens is every time best practices are not practical. So one of my project, when I was giving a demo of my project, it failed because I followed all the best practices of decoupling, whereas that particular architecture had to be a monolith one rather than distributed across. Because of the distributed nature of that particular application, it actually was giving a lot of delays. There were throttling was happening, some of the requests were failing, and then we realized our mistake that this particular architecture was not meant to be distributed. This particular architecture was meant to be a monolith application. So although we always recommend follow the modern architectures, we always say follow the containers, follow the you know uh, microservices architecture, but you also have to understand the use case first. Not every architecture can fit in every use case. So that is one thing that I learned from there, that while designing, it is very important to first understand the use case and do a small MVP model of, is it giving you the right responses and performance. Sometimes what happens is you create an entire architecture, you develop your code and everything, and when you start doing the performance testing, you realize the grave mistakes you have done in the architecture itself. And that time it becomes very very impractical to go and change the entire architecture. So it's very important to learn these things and implement it at the very first stage itself.
Yep, makes sense. That's a fair point. Raji, do you want to add from your end?
Yeah, among the many mistakes that I have done, I would like to highlight one of them, which I feel would be very useful for the audience. Uh, it's easier said than done, right? So, especially in field of security, in order to enforce security, there is a lot of people. Aspect which is involved. It's the culture of the teams that's also involved. It's very easy to say that okay, your EC2 instances are outdated, or their metadata version is outdated. AWS says that it has to be upgraded to a higher version. And as a security professional, it's very easy for you to give the best practice and give the solution. But to actually make it happen on the ground, it's not that easy, because there will be multiple teams who will get impacted. There will be a number of application teams who will not understand what the security team is saying in terms of the impact. When a security person says that to do implement a best practice, what is the impact? What if it's delayed? They will not, I mean, not all the application teams on the ground will be in sync, and they will have 100 things to do. So making them realize the negative impact it would have, and making them to prioritize security, and making them to remediate, taking it as priority zero, is a challenge which I feel is difficult. So it's also about a culture change, which greatly plays a role in making sure security is done right. And continuing on Mahima's point, right? Best practices. That's what I would suggest is overkill. So we do tend to do security. Sometimes we just do too much of security best practice for systems which may not require that much attention. So what I would suggest is go by the risk. So risk, if you see, it's a function of vulnerability and threat. So if you have systems which are in non-production or in a development environment, where you feel that the threat is not so much, or the vulnerability is not so much. So the risk exposure is less for certain systems which are in non-prod or any other environment. So focus security best practices for high risk and high critical and high business critical systems, and then come down to other systems. So that way, prioritize your security and don't tend to overdo it for systems which may not require that much security.
True. Yeah, Faisal, you want to add?
Sanjit, can I quickly clarify one thing here, because I don't want the audience to be confused, because there was a question around the EC2 Connect and the session manager, right? I think it was two separate questions. I was because I said don't use it, and Mahima was saying use it. So I just want to clarify that I was talking about the EC2 Connect, which is like the browser-based thing, and Mahima was actually talking about the session manager, which is actually the better way to do things. So please don't be confused about that, because there were two questions around like EC2 Connect and session manager. Just wanted to highlight that.
Makes sense. Yep, thanks for that. Yeah, Sashank, I think you're looking excited to answer the next. So please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. So I'll just add to Raji what she said. It's all about the culture. Security means PPT, people, process, and technology. It's all about your attitude, your culture. So be vocal. Likewise, Faisal said, if you did mistake, it's your ownership to go and talk about it. Hey, something went wrong. I want to fix it. So once you log into your AWS dashboard, trusted advisor is your friend. Look into it. If anything is there in yellow or red, act upon it. Don't wait for Big Four auditors to come and catch you and file it as an NC, or don't wait for anyone to come and sniff it up and take the advantage and put you in a bad shape. So that's the very first thing. It's all about culture, people, process, technology. The second I would like to talk about is my mistake. I learned AWS by using CloudFormation scripts. I used to lift and shift. Once or twice, I never saw what exactly it was all about. So look for stars in it. Look for those stars. Those stars are against the PLOP, principle of least privilege. Don't give over permissions. Understand what it is going to do. Do all of that things in your developer account or in your personal accounts. Don't run it on production environment. So if you're using something, leveraging something from online or wherever it is, try to have a company-owned one. There are people who are asking about AMIs. So if AMI you are creating your own, make it a golden image, ensure it's hardened and all those things. So don't lift and shift from internet. And the last one I would say about is before your workloads are going to cloud, run the well-architected framework. Fill those questionnaires. You don't understand security, it's perfectly fine. But before it comes and hits cloud and you go in bad shape, this is a tool which is available free of cost. You don't understand, it's perfectly fine. But to make you understand, only that tool is going to ask you. So apply the lenses which are applicable to you, health or surveillance or whatever, and just ensure that you are in good shape. That's it, Sanchit, from my end.
Cool. Disha, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, sorry. One point I just want to add is another thing which people make a mistake is when they are too much doing the security in their environment, specifically application-based security, they don't realize it has a performance impact as well. It could introduce the delays which they don't realize. So it is also important to understand that your security and performance go hand in hand. If your environment is secure but very slow, again, it will impact your business. So I've seen people using as OAuth-based authentication for every API call, even which is internal. It might be causing the delays. I'm just giving a very small example. So it is adding to your performance as well. So always balance that security is also there at the same time. It is not impacting your performance. Or it is not introducing the delays in your application itself.
Correct. And that's what we discussed previous question, right? How we can balance your functionality of the application with the security so you don't over-engineer it, as well as you serve the need of what is required from your compliance and regulatory standpoint, right? Yep. Disha, do you want to add any points, any perspective from your side?
So, yes, Sanchit, I mean, in terms of security, it's like I don't have a count on how many mistakes I've made. But out of them, one small, I would say, incident I did, came across. In the initial, when we think like everything is working fine, and later on we realize no, it actually impacts, and then we realize at one time we are like, nahi, sab kuch sahi chal raha tha, and now suddenly what has happened? So basically, what like Mahima has said, some of the environments are meant to be monolithic, not microservice based architecture. So this microservices only, we had many of the customers who are having their EKS environment, like Kubernetes running on AWS, and they tend to pull the images straight away, from Docker Hub, or let's say from GitHub, and they start using it in their prod or dev environment. But one common mistake which they make is image scanning, because the image is something which is a very basic in the architecture over which the entire architecture, security, everything is constructed. But let's say if that image is corrupted, that is where it generates the vulnerability over time. So scanning those images, so you'll be able to find lot many tools in AWS. We have like ECR, Elastic Container Registry, which helps you scan those images at every layer. You can have an automated scanning, like the moment the image is being pushed, if it is corrupted, you can probably go and delete that image or not use it in your target environment. Also a very common one, there are some images which tend to look fine when we use it, but it tends to generate vulnerabilities over time. So do not, my suggestion would be, do not pull the images straight away from Git and start using, or let's say from Docker Hub and start using it in your target environment. Because at different layers, you will see there are many images which tends to give the host privileges. Set UID, set GID, they tend to give the host privileges which we are not able to identify on time in the start. And later on, we realize like, okay, the person who is using the image actually has the host rights. This was a common mistake which I made, and I definitely share with all the customers who are using this microservice based architecture, which is very widely used in the DevSecOps environment. So yeah, one mistake which we can, learn from. Yeah.
Correct. And that's where I think, Isha, what you mentioned, the power of automation, and I think, Sashank, what you mentioned about the different landscape of their UAT and fraud, right? So how we can bring that, blend it together and follow that proper DevOps life cycle too. So ensure DevSecOps work hand in hand, and you just don't directly target to production, right? And you have all of these things, all the checks and balance have been done in the lower environment as you progress further towards more close to the fraud. So all points make sense, and I think for all the audiences, I mean, they're really excited. There are a bunch of questions out there, so let me start with a couple of questions, and these are open for all the panels. I think I'll start from the first question. Is there any alarm mechanism in AWS security service where we notify the team that something went wrong?
Okay, if I can take up that question. So yes, we have different security mechanism in which we can get alerts. Basically, CloudWatch is something which is able to capture that. And let's say if I want to get notified, I have that option of where I can go and integrate these services where I can get notified by using the SNS service, simple notification service. So where I can get notified with the help of email or SMS or whatever is the mechanism or strategy we are using. Point number one. A second, I can also utilize the webhooks or the channels like Slack or Chime, where I can get a real-time notifications on if any frequency is being breached. So that all alarm I can go and set in the CloudWatch. API calls can be traced in the CloudTrail. So yeah, these are some of the common tools which we can get started with.
So adding on to Disha, also create custom metrics. So there are metrics available by default AWS. We all spoke about it, right? Security is a shared responsibility. AWS can only do so much. They are at the infrastructure level, and we have the freedom to build innovation on top of it. So don't go by blindly the out of the box metrics. Create custom metrics which are relevant for your systems. So if you feel that a console login is something is prohibited, or it is allowed only for certain users, and if you want to know if other users are doing a console login, create a CloudWatch custom metric where you would filter the cloud API for console login API. So anytime there is a console login by a user who's not supposed to do, you will get the alarm in your custom metric. So I would say also look at custom metrics and don't just blindly rely on the default ones.
Makes sense. Uh, an interesting question, which I've also seen a lot of the customer are even asking me around those. So, showing up that question, there are a lot of security services available within AWS. First, why not select all the security services in our account? And two, how to estimate the cost for the security services.
I'll take it up, Sanchit, in a very short one. First is like there are too many services which are available. Agree to that. It might cause confusion. You cannot apply everything at one go, or may not be applicable. It all depends upon your landscape. It all depends upon your architecture diagram, how it is designed, what it is doing. Depending upon your services inside, you can apply the one which are applicable to you. And talking in terms of costing, I prefer to shy away from giving any estimates. I always say AWS.calculator is the best place. So wherever you go, I mean, in the begin discussions, if I say config, they'll be like, hey, config is costly because we have 1 million, and invocations happening and so on. CI changes happening. I cannot afford that. No, it's not really, about costing. So costing shouldn't matter you. It shouldn't matter in terms of, selecting the services. It should be when you're evaluating security tools. I think so. It should not be the first top three parameters. Is that service applicable to your landscape? If yes, what it is going to do, how it is going to help you out. And if you want to do that costing, you should go to AWS.calculator, find the ballpark estimate which is going to come depending upon your usage, which you yourself only can decide. So based on what configurations you give, you will get that estimate. And it's not same for all services. So it's not possible for anyone to remember and give you a proper exact figure. I hope that helps.
One point I would like to add on in terms of cost, because as a TAMP, cost is one of the things I daily deal with customers. Always target the highest security for your production environment, like Raji also mentioned. And you can see, most of these tools are basically logging all the activities which are happening. Now, sometimes customers are logging the same activity twice. So just understand, are your CloudTrail logs being logged twice? Are you having the same log at two different places, right? This is one of the things we usually see. Do you require all the logs? Do a filtering. So when you're sending your custom matrix or any kind of matrix in order to monitor, don't send everything to cloud. If you are sending everything to watch and monitor all these services that you're using, if there is a particular service that you're not using, just disable that. So in a way, those logs will not be sent and your cost would be saved. So there are different mechanisms in order to understand how your cost is, because these tools will be having a lot of logs which you will need to monitor, but you don't need all the logs. All the logs are not going to be relevant for you to understand. So do a filtering. Only enable things on the need basis. If you need it, then enable it. Don't randomly enable everything in the environment.
That's right. And AWS has something called Startup Baseline. I'll send the link. It's AWS Startup Security Baseline. So if you are new to security, if you are uncertain about things, that's a good baseline to start with. So go in steps. Have a roadmap created. As you rightly said, it's not a right approach to just tick mark all A to Z security services and start take small steps. Probably you can start with the baseline and then you slowly enable the other services as you go on.
I'll just add a line to it.
Sure,
Uh,
thank you.
yeah. So Mahima said about logs, right? So I just want to say logs, it's again depending upon your CISO team, your security team, which defines. So retention, how many days you have to keep it, where exactly you have to take it. Like there are people who, like what she said, they have multiple copies of their logs, right? But when you're exporting also, if you're taking it to a different region, it tracks cost. So you need to know like how you are maintaining your logs, where are you copying it to. You may like to take it or take it to somewhere else and integrate with a different sim. It's perfectly fine, but understand how much you want to keep, how many days you want to retain, and are you taking it to a different region, then there is a cost. So you shouldn't say everything is costly. No, you are not designing it right. You have to design it as per your use, as per your landscape. So that was all about it. And talking in terms of security baselines, what Raji said, right? So there are too many events which are happening on Security Loft. So if you go and attend that workshop, it will help you understand. For people who don't know which services are or like how to activate or what are the best practices, so they show you step by step in the console also along with a screenshot. So it's one of the very good ways. You want someone to handhold and help you out, then you can just refer that.
Also, I'll just add on to what Shashank has said, folks, I think we have discussed on the cost part, and cost is something we can go literally forever. So, cost allocation strategies, the tags that we are using, that is something that we take it like very lightly. It's just like going and utilizing it as a naming convention. But naming your resources, tagging your resources is very important. Because let's say by the month end or whenever you're checking your bills, you'll have a clear idea and a clear breakup and bifurcation of which application, which resource is costing me how much. There can be the chances where, with the CFM teams would be like, okay, these are the resources which we are not using but are still, running like, and we're not using it. And so tagging is a very small thing, and I would say underrated, but needs to be taken seriously where when it comes to the cost. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Disha, for bringing that up. Tagging is all about, if we talk about when you're coming from on-premises to cloud, we'll ask only one thing. How do you identify your resources in the cloud estate? Seeing it like dev stage prod, what application it is, and there has to be a proper mechanism for tagging. If you don't tag a resource, there has to be a killing mechanism to kill it also, or not let you spin it also. So tagging is like definitely underrated, but when you put it to use, you understand not in terms of only costing, it will help in terms of O&M, your operation and maintenance and governance part. So yeah, tag your resources really well, and if you don't tag, don't let them create resources in the cloud.
Yeah, I'd like to add to this about the question around, too many AWS security services to use. So one thing to understand is that it's a mistake to think that one service is supposed to replace another service when you're talking about security, or like, the problem here is that because cloud is like an evolutionary thing, like things keep moving, and you might actually get an overlap of two services that does kind of similar things. And because Amazon has this concept of like single pizza teams, is I think what they call them, like they have smaller teams that kind of work with what they want to build, and sometimes there are overlaps of services. So have a look at the service that is kind of integrated into the service that you're using, right? To give an example, like if you're just talking about logging, you can talk about CloudTrail, you can talk about monitoring it, custom monitoring your CloudTrail and all of that. But then AWS config also kind of, you can do that with AWS config, you can do that with other services. So there is always overlap with security services, so you kind of have to look at what exactly you need. And on that same note, the concept of, is there a single place to kind of manage all of this? I think I kind of mentioned this in our session, the AWS Security Hub, right? They're trying to kind of have all of these different security services under a single pane of glass, so that you can see that what's happening throughout your environment. So AWS Security Hub is a good option if you want to kind of bring all of your security solutions under a single umbrella. And it also kind of answers the previous question around, is there a place where we can get all of the alerts? So that's what Security Hub is kind of trying to do now.
Cool. I know there are a couple of more questions, but yeah, looking at the time check, I'll have the last closing question. And this is for all the audience, right? I know we have talked a lot about the mistakes, learning, trends, patterns, and other stuff, right? Uh, any advice how people can learn from security? They share, upgrade their knowledge, because again, just like what Faisal mentioned, cloud is an evolving. Obviously, security is also evolving. There are new attacks, new pattern definition that comes up every day in, day out. So how people also learn and upgrade their knowledge on security? I open to all the panels, how they themselves upgrade, and they can share with all the community members so they can also do the same.
I think I'll start off with that. The main concept to understand here is that when you're talking about security on the cloud and all of that, the underlying concepts of security remain same regardless of whether you're using cloud or whether you're using on premises. It starts from that very basic thing of even using your own phone. You don't click on links that people that are unfamiliar send to you. Those kind of things, like the security basics are kind of similar throughout, in any environment that you look at. So understanding the security fundamentals, regardless of whether it is cloud or on premises or anything else, that's kind of where you start off, right? Because if you're only looking at like trying to learn cloud security, it might actually be a little difficult for you to kind of grasp the underlying concept, or the underlying question of why are you wanting to use that. So it's important to understand the why of any service that you're trying to use, whether it is CloudTrail or Security Hub, like I mentioned. So try to go back a little bit, even like old content that is still available on YouTube or any other security videos that are out there. So security fundamentals is what I would say. I mean, there are of course other points, but I'll leave that to the rest of the panel.
Yep. Maiman, do you want to add any
Yeah.
inputs to it?
So I think majority of the customers who are planning to migrate to cloud or they are already on cloud, like the way when you design your application you do a lot of analysis, right? That what is going to be the architecture, what is a use case, everything is dotted out, but security is usually the last thing that is discussed during the architecture design. So make that as a priority during the initial discussion itself. Identify that which are the use cases and what needs to be protected, what are the compliances that you are going to follow. If you are in FSI industry, understand that which all compliances are important for your business, and then understand which services you are going to use, are they compliant with those services or compliances or not. So security does not start at the end when you are already migrated or you are planning to migrate to cloud. It starts from the beginning when the initial analysis is being done of your application. If you are creating a new greenfield kind of an application, or even if you have an existing application and you are planning to migrate to cloud, security will not come after you have migrated. It will come before you have migrated, because these security best practices have to be enabled when you are creating your landing zone itself. You have to create the alerts, what kind of logging you need, what kind of tools you need, and you are not going to elaborate going forward. If you have those standard best practices in place at the beginning itself, all the things will become very easy, because it will kind of create a framework for you which will be self managed on your behalf. You don't have to manage it literally or manually. So that is just one advice from my end.
Cool. Uh, that makes
Should I take it
sense.
up?
Yeah. Yeah, Sushant. Please go ahead.
Right. Okay. So, how to keep yourself updated? It would be first is read articles. If you're reading the articles, try to replay them using MITRE framework, which I've discussed in the first session itself. If you're talking about a security hub, you want to understand what these controls are. So again, we covered NIST CIS benchmarks. So try understanding that. You'll understand the controls. Focus more broadly on whether you are compliant or not compliant. Don't think about, hey, I'm in NC so it is red, or if it is high, medium, low, so if it is low it's okay. No, it's not okay. I mean, try understanding and go beyond that. Create your architecture, see it on paper, see which tools are going to protect you, ask WFATch questions, why, what, when, how this happens before you come to cloud. This keeps you in best shape. And if you really want to understand more, there's a Cloud Audit Academy, which is there on our security portal. Just go and try understanding that, wear auditor's hat, and see what they're looking out for. The intent is not to trouble you, but to safeguard you. They don't look for NCs, but they look for threat actors in your environment and then try to protect them. So, I mean, have cordial thing rather than, focusing more on how many NCs I have in the audit and how much I have to fix it. So don't have that mindset. It will really help you out to learn more. Over to you, Sanchit.
Sure. So, yeah, I think we have covered up most of other questions also in the chat. I think there's one last question which is very important, and I think that's the question from my end also, right? For security architecture, is there a framework or approach or like a guidelines which we can follow or adhere to it while designing the architectures for the customer?
Okay, maybe I'll take that.
Sure.
So when you put down your architecture, right, it's always a good practice before you get on to the coding, or even doing the design, the implementation planning which you do. It's a good practice to do threat modeling. So Mahima and Shashank have been talking about shifting security as left as possible. So do a threat modeling exercise the moment you have your architecture diagram ready. And there are tools available. There is a stride model, and there are other third party tools as well. So it will tell you upfront, you will decide or you will know what are the potential attack which can happen, what are the potential vulnerabilities which can come in. So you will be able to plan better, and also bring in the security design aspects as early as possible. So that's one which should be adopted the moment your architecture is ready. And security hub or config for that matter, they have certain inbuilt frameworks. So there is something called CIS, Center of Internet Security, and there is something called AWS Foundation Security Best Practice. So enable these two frameworks. So they will take care of the minimal security or the critical security best practices which has to be brought in. So once you enable them, you will get a score, and you will know whether you are doing good, where things are going wrong, and you can correct your solution accordingly.
Yeah, one more point is we already have AWS security reference architecture. I posted the link for that. So customers who are beginners and they don't even understand about how to go about it, what are the tools and what architecture they need to follow, this is something that they could get started with.
Thanks, Mahima, for sharing that link. I think that for sure will help. Uh, Nisha, the last one to close. Do you want to add anything on the security architecture or references? What do you
Sure.
use?
Sure, Sanchit. I think Mahima and Rajiv have covered very good points. Just adding on to this, we also have like when we have what we have talked about is well-architected frameworks. So security pillar is one of the principles pillar, which basically includes the security pillar, which has where we cover different verticals like protecting the data systems, assets, to take the advantage of all the cloud technologies. I'm just sharing that link with all of you. So, folks, here we have different design principles which are covered, for example, talking about the strong identity foundation, traceability, automating the best practices, and keeping your data at rest and in transit encrypted. All the practices are shared. So, even let's say, even going and creating or coding or deploying your infra straight away in the cloud, here are the few checks on the best practices which you can follow by literally seriously answering the questions. What
Cool. So I think that's where we get into it. Our closure of the first topic about fire chat. I know. I think what we planned it went longer. That's what the beauty of getting all the stars on one side, right? So that's not possible. So once again, thank you so much to all the panels, Maima, Disha, Rajiv, Faisal, Shashank. Take out the time from your schedules on the weekend and helping us, me, myself, as all the wonderful participants to learn, share the knowledge, and also thank you so much for spending time. Uh, Now I think I'll request we'll move ahead with the next topic, and I'll pass it on to Disha to talk about AWS certification. But yeah, audience will take a quick break of a minute before we move to the next topic, and where Disha will talk about her experience when it comes to AWS security, specialty certification, what are the resources, material. So whatever we have learned in last 9 sessions, and as well as the learning we got from session, how we can club together and you also get your AWS certification. Again, the intent is not yourself to get certified, but how we can learn and get an accreditation on it, what you have already captured that knowledge from the last previous sessions. So we'll take a break for a minute and we'll be back soon here. And once again, thank you so much to all the fire chat panels.
Thanks,
Thank you so
everyone.
much, Sanjay. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Cool. So, Disha, if you want to share your screen, obviously, I mean, in the interest of time and audience are back in a minute, you can bring up your screen and
Sure.
you can have your screen.
Okay, so I'm just sharing my screen. You can just confirm if you're able to see.
Sure.
Perfect. Please confirm if you can see the screen.
Yes, I can see the screen. Let me add it in the screen.
Yes.
Cool. I think we'll wait for 30 seconds more and then we'll start.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. I think we can start.
Perfect. Okay. Folks, when I talk about the certification, one very important point, people are like, why it is important to get certified. So, a very common thought or the quote that comes into my mind is, in case if you have a knowledge or you have a skill and you're not certified, it is something that you are having awareness about it, you know about it. But when you're certified, it's the world that knows about your skill, right? So again, when I talk about the AWS certifications, we have certificates in different domains, different areas where we have security, we have a solution architect, associate, professional. So we have in different categories where there's a foundational certificate, where there's a professional, associate, and the specialty. And when I'm talking about the AWS security certification, that comes under the specialty category. Now, the question comes up here is, how do I prepare? How can I get certified? What are the different resources? Again, folks, one very important point here is you will see lot many resources are there available in the market, lot many blogs are there, and I really appreciate it. But a very common mistake again in terms of exam prep, what I have seen is uh, when we are just doing a quick search engine, we are using to search anything, and whatever comes up in the blog, we just go through it just to in a quick way, like to help us identify different areas and different knowledge for security. And this is where we get into a trap sometimes. So very important, right resources, right mentor is very important for your for any journey, not just security but for any journey. So right resources are important. Try to have a count from the right resources, which comes again from the parent, that is from AWS itself. Please try to go through that. So right now, in case if you just do a quick search engine, if you just quickly go and use the search engine to have a quick search on this, for AWS Certified Security Specialty Exam, this is again a specialty level of a exam that we are having. There are lot many resources that are available for you to get prepared, for your exams. So here you'll be able to see in the only thing I would say to get started is you need to have an account with AWS Skill Builder, right? So folks, currently we have 600 plus free digital content available. You just have to go and sign up. 600 plus free digital content is available and a wide variety is covered in terms of security. This is how the page looks like, right? You can use different filters like, for example, if I'm going and looking into uh, for example, let's say specifically talking about, let's say, architecting, right? So based on that specific category, you'll be able to find lot many resources that are available. Apart from that, we also have subscription based, which is again a paid one. So let's say if you want to get subscribed to any of the specific session or so, for that also many resources are available. So that is point number one. Apart from that, if you go back to this page, for the exam preparation, initially the exam readiness was chargeable. Now it is available free of cost in the skill builder section. So exam readiness training for security, as well as the official practice question set, so there are 20 question sets that are available, which is now free of cost. We also have a AWS Cloud Quest, where you will be able to see a lot of real world business challenges, and it's very much similar to going and playing a game, where you also have a platform to go and learn into different areas, specifically talking about the security. Some of them are again subscription based. So let's say if you want to be a part of any practice materials like videos, hands-on lab, if you want to go and try out, so that will be subscription based. Again, in case if you're very new to this, I would recommend you to first of all get started with the fundamental level. A very common course which I recommend is getting started with the security essentials, right? Where we cover all the basics and fundamentals in terms of security, which is there in AWS. Point number two, in case if you are very clear with the security basics and the fundamentals which is there in AWS, again, remember exam readiness training is not a substitute of the actual 3 days of a session that we deliver, right? So in that case, if you have an interest, you can definitely be a part of our security engineering on AWS training, which in which we cover 3 days of a dive deep concepts on different security and the different verticals and the best practices on it. Apart from that, we do provide you with the lab as well, where you can go and perform a hands-on, right? That's one part of it. Also, just to talking about this certification, that adds a lot of credibility to your CV, to your career as well, because a certification is something that helps you set apart from the crowd and which helps you gives you the credibility in the market. So again, this is something which gives your CV or resume a lot of weightage, like you are something who stands apart from the crowd, who are not just having a knowledge about it, but you also have proven on different use cases and scenarios which you have seen in the exam, and you were able to answer it, right? Apart from that, folks, I would recommend, when I started with my career in AWS, having a free tier account where there are a lot many resources which are available for free of cost on a trial basis also for 1 year. Some of them are absolutely free, some of them are available for free of cost for a good number of hours throughout the year, and some of them you're able to see them on a trial basis. For example, Macy, when I took a session, Macy is available for 60 days of a free trial. So those services you can go and try and test out on how it works. So there are many such tutorials available. What I would recommend is, in terms of security, you can go and refer the AWS well architected labs. So although we have different pillars in it, so if I'm clicking on security, you'll be able to see a lot of labs and quests that are available, like 100 level, that is foundational, then intermediate, and then advanced one. Just keep in mind, some of the services that are used here might not be covered under free tier. So in case if you want to go and try and test out, some charges might be applicable that you can go and check the actual page. That's one thing that you can refer. Number two that I have is the AWS workshops. I don't know how many of you have awareness. This is specifically created for the professionals. So let's say you must have heard about the gaming days and all, right? Or the silos environment which companies do conduct. This is very much similar to this. So security is one of the domains here again. You'll be able to find lot many workshops here. For example, if I click on security for developers, this is level 300. We have level 200, 300, 400 levels of labs. Again, for a different count, like 3, 4, 5, 8 hours also as well. You need to have an account, and it is going to utilize a CloudFormation template to go and do the setup for you. You just can follow the steps to practice the hands-on. Apart from that, folks, I'll just quickly have a check on this one as well. Exam prep part of it. How do you prepare for your exam? So a lot of content, as I have stated, it is available in the skill builder. For example, this is the exam readiness session that I was talking about. Here we expect that you know about the different security services and you have practiced, right? So in that case, this is available free. You can simply go and enroll. Here we will cover different areas like what are the best practices that you can follow to prepare for the exam. A very, few 2 to 3 pointers which I would share whenever I'm giving any of the AWS examinations. Remember, folks, that elimination method is something that does wonders for me. Like, let's say that there can be the obvious answers or obvious questions that we might not have awareness, or we have never touched upon it, or we have never looked into it. But having elimination strategy, for example, if you are going through a question, identify the keywords. For example, it might ask you like, as per the given scenario in terms of security, what can be the most cost optimized solution? So different people might have different perspective, but what is the keyword here is the cost. So in those terms, you have to go and look into the options. It will be MCQ based, of course. So in that case, there will be some obvious wrong answers. For example, if it is being asked in terms of monitoring, CloudWatch is given, CloudTrail is given, and there's a third service which is a database. Of course, database is something which is very much different, which has no relevance. So that is something without looking into it, you can simply eliminate. So try to narrow down your answers as much as you can, and there can be a good chances where you are left with just one option, and that is the correct one, just because you have eliminated. This trick does wonders for me, and it has literally saved me from many such questions which I was like, which I've never touched upon the topic as well. So that works. Number two, keywords. Identify the keywords. They're out of like paragraph kind of a questions. There can be one or two liners which is like absolutely of no use. For example, a manager has asked their team, and so, and we tend to waste our time a lot there. Try to identify the keywords, highlight them, and then try to identify the answers in your mind first. For example, before looking into the options, I always try to think on what can be the right answer for this one. And possibly we are able to see the right option there, and we simply reading the other options, we can simply go and tick them off. And that helps us save the time. So that's point number two. Point number three, in case if you do not, elimination doesn't work, keyword is not working, and you're not knowing the answers, that is absolutely okay. What you can do is, for the meantime, you can just try to have a wild guess of an answer, mark the MCQ, and flag that question for the review and move on. Third golden rule, there is no negative marking, there is no penalty for guessing. So at least attempt a question. There can be a good chances that universe is with us and that answer can be right. And probably later on, if we are flagging that question, you'll have a time to come back and think upon it. So do not wait for a question or wait for, okay, what should I do? Mark an answer for that time, because we don't know, do we have time on coming back and answering that question or no? Mark the question at least, mark the answer at least, flag that for a review, and then come back. So that's three golden rule that definitely helps me whenever I'm sitting for any exam, not just in terms of security. That's one, folks, I would say recommendation given. Apart from that, there are many such exam topics that are available in the skill builder. For example, a security pillar like the one which we have shared. And this is something which is easily accessible whenever you go to the actual, you simply have to go and search for AWS Certified Security Specialty, right? Security pillars, these are all the white papers. Again, I know it is not possible for you to go through all of them, but please try to at least, run an eye and take a quick notes of it. Technical resources, again, these are all the possible services where you might expect the questions. In case if you look into the exam blueprint also, there might be some services which will obviously not a part of it. For example, if I'm talking about the ML services or IoT, so no need to prepare for those areas. I know you will not, but still a guidance. So these are all the white papers and the product documentations that are available. So these are all the FAQs that you need to go through. Very important. That's point number one. Also, folks, for the preparation, because examination questions that you're going to get will be mostly of the scenario based, right? It will not be a direct question like, okay, which service is used to, record the API calls, and your answer is AWS CloudTrail. Answer is no. You'll get a scenario based. You are given a scenario, and out of that, you have to identify the right answer. So a very common resource which I use is AWS Knowledge Center. This definitely has, again, done a wonders for me, not just in terms of exam. Let's say if you're a professional or you're a fresher, you get started with your journey towards your AWS cloud environment or practicing as well. This has literally helped. Here you'll be able to find a lot of real scenario based queries from the actual customers, of which as a experts essays they answer the queries, right? So based on that, this also really helps. For example, if I'm actually going and searching for the knowledge center content, like what is, for example, let's say why can't my secrets manager rotation work or so. So based on this, if you click on this, you'll be able to find the resolution for this. I know it is not possible to cover all of them, but please at least try to cover the core security services that are there, which I've shown you the list. right? If we go back here, right? If I'm just clicking on this one, these are all the core services for security technical resources. Please at least jot them down and try to search the answers or the relevant questions from here. This has really helped me in many of the examinations. You might not get the same, of course, but same scenario based is something that really helps. You'll be able to quickly identify that, okay, this was the resolution that I have, solution that I have seen from the knowledge center. So this is something which is going to help. Apart from that, there are many articles, tags, topics, and community groups that are available. You can also post your own questions. Like these are all the categories that you see. These are all the category. For example, if I'm searching for a security only, right? You can see it from here. Like security, identity, and compliance. You can follow them, and there are a lot of questions that we get, not just in terms of exam, folks, but also this helps in your day-to-day practice when you're working on AWS. So that's point number one. Here for the resources. So again, I'm recapping this. Skill builder, exam readiness is there. On the actual page itself, you'll be able to find all the technical resources, white papers that are available. This is the security fundamentals training, second edition, which is now available free of cost. I think that's 5 to 6. Okay, yeah. This is going to be a 2 hour of a session, 120 minutes, where we cover a good fundamental, practices. This is basic. Advanced, if you want, you can be a part of our security engineering session. Workshops are there, well architected labs are there. Security is something which you can go and do the hands on. You can be a part of community groups here, and this knowledge center will help you get answer a lot of questions from here itself. Coming back to this one, since this is a specialty based exam, remember the passing percentage for this one is 75%. Like out of 1000, you have to get 750 marks in overall. We have different, passing rates, passing marks in different, type of exam. Like for example, for fundamentals like cloud practitioner, we have 70%, like 700 as passing. For associate, it is 72%, 720 marks. And for specialty and professional, it is 75%. It's an overall, right? So that's one part of it. Apart from that, this is the exam guide, folks. Please ensure that you go through them. So basically in the exam, it is going to be a multiple choice MCQs only, but some of them have one correct response, right? And 3 incorrect, which we call it as a distractors. Second is multiple responses. Like in one question, there might be 2 or 3 which are correct, and that will be mentioned in the question. Like 2 or 3 are correct. In the braces itself, you'll be able to see. So please do not forget to mark the type of it. Like how many it is, what is the ask actually. Let's say out of 3 are being asked and you mark 2 correctly and you expect that to be right, that will be considered as incorrect. So that's point number 4. That is the golden rule. There is no marking for steps, right? No partial marking, no marking for steps. For example, if 3 responses are correct in multiple response, and out of that 2 you make correct and 1 is incorrect, you still get a 0. Either you're absolutely right or either you're wrong, right? Also, please do not forget to select the one which is being asked. If 3 are said to be, answered correctly, select 3 options. Don't just go and select 2 options and expect that it is going to be wrong, right? Apart from that, you can of course go through this documentation also, where you'll get a good idea. Like this is what I've said, the minimum passing score is going to be 750. This is the exam domain, like incident response, logging monitoring, infra security, IAM, and data protection. And this is the percentage. So this will help you to prepare accordingly for the exam. For example, here infra security is something which carries the maximum, score out of all. For every exam, you will not find the domain name written on the exam questions. Basically, some of the questions might be a mix of domain as well. Like for example, 1 or 2 questions might have a mixture of incident response as well as data protection. Like they'll ask how to, for example, like there's a microservice based architecture. I want to go and protect your data at rest, which is sitting outside the infra, but I want to get notified, let's say, if someone is trying to use the key who is not an intended user. So this covers incident response as well as data protection both. You will not be able to, get the domain name that like this question belongs to this specific domains. So this is all the description about the same. Please do not forget to go and read them, right? And these are the expected, I would say, services and features. Again, all of them might not be there in the exam, but these are the list of it that you have to go and prepare. One recommendation, folks, in the examination, please go over prepared. Don't go under prepared. That is absolutely okay. If 2 or 3 features or services you have read is not coming in the exam, go over prepared, not under prepared, right? And these are some out of the scope services. For example, what I've explained, like ML, IoT, no need to cover them in terms of a security examination, right? So again, folks, there is no any pre-required certificate. I'm not saying prereq, I'm saying pre-required certificate if you want to sit for the security exams, security specialty. If you're confident, if you have practiced well, you can go and book your exam, online, or as well as in Amazon exam center. We have different partners available. You can go and give the exam. But again, pre-required certificate is not there. You can straight away sit for the security exam. However, as a best practice, we do suggest that you should have some prerequisites fulfilled. If you're very new to it, we would recommend you to go ahead with the cloud practitioner essentials first, or cloud, I would say AWS technical essential first, to cover the basics of AWS services, right? Again, post that, if you want to go and prepare for solution architect training, or you want to go with the certification, that also can be done. And post that, you can do the specialty. But again, that's a path that I'm discussing, not something that is mandatory, right? Apart from that, folks, if you know about it, if you clear any exam in AWS that has a validity of 3 years, and you get a discount voucher, which is again 50% of a discount voucher, which you can use for the other exam. For example, if you have cleared cloud practitioner, which is a fundamental foundation level of an exam, you get a 50% of a discount voucher, which you can use for security exam. So the cost for this one is $300 plus taxes, which will become $150 plus taxes. But remember, this voucher is applicable for 1 year and for a one-time of a use, right? So that's one thing. Apart from that, class training options, if you want to be a part of it, this is something which we recommend. How and who all should take the course, what experience you should have, right? So security fundamental digital content is available on the skill builder, and security essentials. So classroom training is also there, and skill builder also you'll be able to find a lot of content. And architecting on AWS is important because we expect you to have this knowledge, because ultimately we are talking about the infrastructure security. There, I'm not going to discuss on what is VPC or what is EC2 instance, how to launch it, because there in the security specialty, we expect you to know that knowledge. So architecting is going to be very beneficial, and these are set to be the prerequisites if you're sitting for these sessions or you're giving for the exam as well, right? So again, folks, one very important point, what I've shared from my, what I've learned from my experiences, do not just prepare for the exam. I mean, just don't target only your exam to be the whole and soul or to be the ultimate goal. Please prepare for the knowledge. If you have the right set of knowledge and then you're going ahead with an exam, that is something where you win. Otherwise, let's say if you are just preparing for the exam and you just try to mug up, which is absolutely not possible because you don't know what are going to be the set of questions, but still, if you try to mug up the different services or the product documentation or so, at the last, we tend to forget them because we haven't practiced them, we haven't learned them properly. And in that case, your certification just becomes a piece of paper. So don't do that. Take your time, learn at your own pace. Do not try to compare yourself like, no, of course, targets are important, but do not just try to compare like, no, I have to go and give this exam in only this specific deadline. If you're not prepared, if you're underprepared, don't attempt. Take your time, take your own sweet time. Rest well before you sit for your exam. And again, I think these resources will definitely help you. And Sanchit is there, panelists, we were there. I am there always. Feel free to reach out, not for the set of questions, but definitely for any kind of a help. Wherever we can be a help to you, we are just an email or a text away. So yeah, over to you, Sanchit.
Sure. Thanks, Disha. I think thanks for covering that wonderful session about the certification. And I think one thing what Disha also mentioned, I'll also emphasize because I've gone through the certifications, not security, all of them. Practice and take rest. Like, don't burn your night, right? That last minute preparation may not help you, right? obviously. So take rest because it's a very lengthy exam. The questions are like a huge, big para. It's not a one-liner, so you need some energy and fresh mind to go through that and all, right? And also to add a small tip. I mean, it's not a big one. I always try to schedule my exams maybe early in the morning or the first half of the day, so I'm just there. I can think, right? Not at the end after I'm done with my all the office stuff and chaos. Then I'll go and do. You're already done with your energy because again, just remember it's going to be a half your screen or more than close to an entire screen of big questions. So try to schedule if possible in the first half. That's my preference has been. Other people do have a different preferences, and yes, practice and practice that will make you more expert around it. But thank you, Disha, once again, not just in the fire chat, but even helping our audience to about it. And the links which you have given, right? If you can help us to give the link in the chat, I'll share it with all of our audiences. You can do that. I mean, you can do it now or you can give it offline. I
Sure,
can
definitely.
share
I
those all
think
the
everyone
links.
is live, so it would be good if I'm sharing it right away with everyone. Folks,
Sure.
please take note of it and let us know if you have any questions. We'll be more than happy to help you. These are some free resources available because I know, going through the training, it takes a lot of time and again efforts. In case if you're new to it, you can get started with the fundamental knowledge and let us know if you have any queries.
Awesome. So yeah, I've shared all the links with all of our audiences around the links which you've given me. So thank you, Disha. Again, audience, if you have any other questions, any queries about certification, about security, you can reach out to Disha, Shashank, Mahima, Faisal, me, Raji on the LinkedIn. I think we are all available. Shashank and Mahima and me are already part of our Slack channel also of UJ Mumbai and other thing. So if you're part of UJ Mumbai, you can reach out to us there, or obviously you can reach out to us on LinkedIn. Just DM us and we'll be happy to help. So that's what we have for the second on the agenda. Thank you, Disha, once again for spending time from your weekend to help our audience to learn about it. And now we'll move with the next topic around it, which is more close what Disha just mentioned about the different materials from a technology perspective, from technical things, how you can upscale yourself on security and certification. I also want to throw up some lights around how exactly you can communicate, how you can interact with the communities, right? There are different initiatives which AWS are running in terms of communities, different programs. Most of you are will already aware about it, but in case if you're not, I just want to spend a couple of minutes to give you that download of different programs and other things what might be happening close to you in person, which you can attend, learn from it, upscale and network. So let me go ahead and share my screen for that. And let me know once my screen is visible. So yeah, as I mentioned in this session or in this particular section of the session, I'll be talking about the community overview. I'll be emphasizing the AWS community program, which AWS, along with the other AWS user group leads, they organize it, right? So I'll talk about those programs, and as well as there are many queries which I have also received on the LinkedIn, as well as I've checked with other UG leads about the cloud clubs for the college student, which is a new initiative AWS started a couple of months back for all the college students, how they can also interact, lead, form a community in their university or the campus, right? So starting around the different kinds of programs what AWS do have in terms of the communities, I'm pretty sure you're aware about AWS user group. This is one which is organized by the AWS user group India, the different what we have like Mumbai, Hyderabad, Nasik. So that's one bucket which is AWS user group. The second is the community builder. I'm pretty sure you would be aware about it if you are on LinkedIn, Twitter, or any social media platform. Recently, the renewal, the third cycle of renewal was done, like last week itself. So there's lots of buzz in all the social media platform when it comes to community builder. Again, don't worry, I'll double click on each of the programs, but I'm pretty sure you will be aware about that. AWS Heroes. So you heard from Faisal, who's a community hero. So there are AWS Heroes programs are there, as well as Cloud Club. So, which is a new initiative AWS just started around a few months back, talking about how they can provide a stage or a platform for the college students. So let's try to double click on each of the programs. This is for specifically, I'm talking about AWS user groups within India. So there are 27 plus, and I'm pretty sure there are 2 or 3 more around it. So 27 to 30 user groups, what we have across India. And I'm pretty sure starting from, you talk about Dehradun to Kerala or Trivandrum, we have horizontally scanned all places around where you have the user group. So please go through that. I've also given the link and I'll post the link in the chat. If you are close enough, let's say you're not from Mumbai, Hyderabad, Nasik, tier 1, tier 2 city, reach out to the respective you're close to user groups. Obviously, we will continue doing this virtual sessions, but again, those experience of going and witnessing an in-person meetup is a different. I cannot even describe it when I host in-person sessions. It's a different exposures and different in networking kind of an opportunity what you get to learn from other people. So always tie up to your user group which you're close enough, maybe whatever user groups are, right? So do that. Overall, from a global standpoint, there are 400 plus user groups widely there. And the whole motive is to ensure we do meetups monthly or quarterly and promote the technical expertise, right? Like how we are doing this entire security event. There are many more what we are planning. I'll talk about that in a short time, as well as the community days that takes place across this different user groups. So please do register part of it and have that opportunity to learn, upscale, and grow with the user groups, right? These are the couple of glimpses which I want to share, right? Which we have captured from AWS User Group Mumbai, the AWS User Group Hyderabad, as well as the AWS User Group Ahmedabad, where they have done the recent deep racer leagues, right? So these are a couple of glimpses. I would say there are many more. You can just search AWS User Group India. There are many more clips or glimpses you will get around it. Moving towards the next, which is the community builder. I'm pretty sure most of the folks on here would already be a community builder or would have tried community builder or will be looking forward to do it, right? So community program or builder is another platform where you can globally interact with all cloud evangelists who wants to share their knowledge, their expertise in different forms in terms of open source, blogs, videos, or by hosting the events. It's a kind of a platform where you can interact, share your ideas, talk to the people, and not only about community. I see many people also take advantage of asking the technical questions, technical help, right? Hey, I'm facing this XYZ issues. Have you done that? And there are AWS solution architects, product team available who can also help you and guide you. So it's not just for the community, even for your personal learning and technical upscaling, right? So if you have not registered for the community builder, the window may open soon in the July or August time span. So please do register. And again, in order to get into the community builder, you need to be an active contribution in AWS community in different form, which can be open source, blogs, doing events in your colleges. So start doing that contribution, and it's one of the good opportunity which AWS has come up around that. And again, if you have any questions about community builder, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to any other people in AWS. We will be happy to guide you and help you how to get into this program or any other questions you have on the community side. AWS heroes. Most of the people, I always get a link how to become a hero, right? That's a common thing which most of the heroes do get around the bus. So there are 15 plus AWS heroes in India and Southeast. Totally, there are 252 plus AWS heroes what we have. The whole idea, these are the cloud evangelists who have gone beyond the past, set an impact in the community by doing different kinds of stuff like community events, you talk about the AWS community days, doing kinds of webinars or showing, going beyond their bars, their day in, day out job to share knowledge, their expertise within their community or across communities, right? So one of the example, if I talk about from, which was a proud moment for all of us from AWS UG India last year was Bhuvneshwari, who all we know recognizes Bhuvna. She's part of AWS User Group Bangalore and as well as Dev Tool AWS Hero. She was being awarded by Warner, the CTO of Amazon, last year as the Go Build Award. This is a very prestigious award which are given to AWS heroes. There are only 2 winners what we have so far. This award started from last year in 2021, and Bhuvna was the second one. She got this award last year. So these are the heroes. I would really request and encourage to all of you guys. They are very active and they are available on the LinkedIn, all the social media platform. Faisal was one of them today who joined us today. So please do connect with them, follow them, learn from their expertise. Cloud Captain, Cloud Club, as we talk about, right? This is an initiative which is more for the students who are part of the colleges, not graduated, will be graduating soon, but part of the colleges across Australia, Bangladesh, France, India, Ireland, right? So this has not been open globally so far. This has been very selective to particular countries. Obviously, we are lucky enough, India is part of it. So please, again, the current window is closed for Cloud Captain. There are a couple of captains which are already been there from the wave one. I'm pretty sure there will be wave 2 and 3 will be coming around very soon. And if you need more details, first I would request you please connect to the existing captains, be in touch with them, contribute, help them in terms of initiatives we are doing. If might be possible that you're already part of a college or university where you already have a cloud captain. So I would really request learn from them, understand how they are doing and what they are doing for the community. And if you want to really know more, you can reach out to me. We have a specific spoke from AWS. His name is Mustafa for AWS India, who leads the entire community of the cloud captains for India. I can help you to get in touch with him, so he can also help you, train you on those folds. But this is a very good initiative to upscale your platform or leverage the community platform to upscale your learning, even when you're part of the colleges. Most of the things where I used to see that, hey, we are a part of college. Obviously, you're talking about user groups, community builders, but how we can start something for our college. So this is a platform where AWS hears you out, created this opportunity where you can create something within your college or campus for your colleagues or the other batchmates and really grow a big community out of it. Now the interesting thing, how does it feel to be part of AWS developer community? I myself is also part of the community for last 2.5, 3 years. There are many people, I talk about Bhuvna also. There are many other there who are part of developer community and all. I'll try to play a video for one of the person who was part of the panel back. Let me explain from him. I think, and again, just to talk about, there are many such community voice sessions have been recorded. I'm pretty sure, and I will really request all of you guys after the session, search on YouTube about community voice. There are many more. I'm playing the Faisal. Bhuvna also have his Dipali, Devi, Nilesh Waghela. There are many such people have shared their experiences, irrespective they are heroes or community UG leads. They have shared their experiences about what they have learned. So I'll share about quickly about what, and let's hear from Faisal around it.
The most rewarding part for me being in the community is the fact that I always wanted to give the education of technology to people who might have not had that opportunity. Hello, my name is Faisal Khan. I'm currently founder and CEO at ecom.in and ExciteLogic. I'm building to better community knowledge sharing. So after working for almost 12 years in the IT industry, I realized that I had much more to offer with regards to my skills. So I ventured out on my own to found my own company called Ecom India Cloud IT. So soon after I started ecom.in, which is a cloud native company on AWS, I started seeking out groups and communities to learn more about AWS. And this is where I came across the AWS Hyderabad user group. And then I realized that I have a lot more to offer to the group. So I started conducting a lot more meetups, speaking at different sessions. And this led on to further developing a lot more things for the community. And on that same line, I went on to build a global discussion forum called Let's Talk AWS. Recently, I received a call from one of my trainees in the US, and he was elated to let me know that he actually got into AWS after completing my training on solutions architecture. With all of the work that I did for the community in terms of speaking events or building out tools for the community, the rewards were great. And one of those rewards was actually becoming the user group leader for the AWS Hyderabad user group. And on that same line, a few months later, I also happened to be selected for the AWS Community Builder program. And with consistent efforts and a lot more work, soon I became an AWS hero. My advice to anyone who's building out within the AWS community is to not be afraid of making your own path and try not to follow trends. try to specialize in areas that you feel interested in, because expertise in certain areas will always outlast trends.
So I'm pretty sure you guys would be really excited by after going through this video. And as I mentioned, there are many more such experiences from the experts, what you can hear about community and their own personal learning. By the way, Faisal is already in the backstage and he's going through this video, which himself was a surprise for him. But yeah, again, please do register to the community. It's not just promoting about AWS, but your own personal upscaling. And the best example or testimony for that is myself, which will learn a lot in last 2-3 years after joining community. So moving to its next about yeah. So again, how to join, right? So all the folks who are close to Mumbai or extended Mumbai or in Pune, you can reach out to us on different forums, right? Where you can go on LinkedIn, Slack, Meetup, any social media platform. We do have a presence. I would really request you don't need to subscribe all of us. Just subscribe one of them for your update about different events, what we are doing. I'm pretty sure I'm going to talk about something very interesting in next half an hour about what we are going to do next. So please subscribe to any of our events. I would really request you do on Meetup because that's where we share all the invites and all the calendar invites are there. But again, if you want to join, I'll be greedy if you can subscribe to all the social media platform. But if not, please do one of them. And again, if you are not close enough to Mumbai, I'm pretty sure Meetup is a consistent platform which are being used by all the user groups, whether it's Hyderabad, Ahmedabad, Dehradun, Nasik. So you just go to Meetup, search the nearby user group, subscribe, reach out to their leads, and see if you can contribute, learn from them, right? But yeah, as I requested, please join any of the user groups, which will help you to learn. So that's about community. Again, if you have any questions about community, how we can get into community builder or maybe cloud captain, cloud club, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to help you or guide you to the respective person who can help you to get more knowledge about this. And again, as I requested, please go through all the community voice, which will really excite you to go and join the communities, right? So that's from my end. I'll pass it on to the Tejas, which for the much excited section of today's event, which is playing the quiz, the last quiz of the series, and announcing the winners for the different track what we have done, which includes engaging member, blogathon, as well as the quiz. So let me get Tejas on the stage. Hey Tejas, how are you doing today?
Hi Sanjeev, I'm doing fine. How are you?
Doing good, thank you. So Tejas, over to you. Please go ahead, our quiz master for the series.
Yeah, I've shared the link. Can you share it on the comments?
Sure. Yeah. So guys, I'm pasting the link for the quiz, for today's quiz, as well as I'm flashing it on the screen. This is the same link what we are using for the tournament. So please do register.
And this will be the last quiz for the tournament. So buckle up, guys. Can still get on the top.
Yeah. So I'll pass it on to Tejas. You want to share your screen and bring up
Yeah.
the quiz?
Just a second. Okay, let me know if my screen is visible.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. Okay, I can see more than 10 participants. Okay, guys, quickly join up so that we can start with the quiz. Sanjeev, let me know if we can start with the quiz.
Yeah, guys, I would request everyone to please register. All the people who are part of the session, please do register for the quiz. We'll wait for a minute. It's current 12:44. We'll wait for a minute and we'll start at 12:45. And in case if you're facing any issues in terms of not able to access or any other thing, please put it in the chat. We'll be happy to help you out. Sure. Yeah, I think Senate
Okay.
will need a minute. So I think let's wait for a minute. There's a message like let's wait for a second. Please let us know when everyone is able to add into it. We'll wait for one more minute. I see a message in the chat. Cool. I think let's start.
Okay. Okay, guys, let's move on to the first question. I hope everyone is ready. Okay, here we go with our first question. Coming up in next 5 seconds. Okay. A company wants to secure their Amazon EC2 instances by limiting inbound traffic to specific port and IP addresses. Which of the following AWS services should they use to achieve this? Is it Shield? Is it Security Group? Is it WAF? Is it Network ACLs? Okay, we have 13 seconds more. Come on, guys. Last 5 seconds. Okay, and the answer is AWS Security Group. I see that 63% of given the correct answer. And on the leaderboard, we have Arvind, Mohammed, and Gopi. Okay, next move on to the next question. The question number 2. Okay, be ready. Okay. A company recently experienced a DDoS attack prevented by web server for serving content. The website is static and hosts only HTML, CSS, PDF files. Okay, based on the architecture shown in the image, what's the best way to protect it? So you can see the diagram here and the options A, B, C, D. Okay, launch a new EC2 instance, move all to S3, launch an application load balancer. Okay, so our answer was move all the files to S3 bucket and create a CloudFront distributed in front of the bucket. Okay. The leaderboard remains same. We don't have any change here. Let's move on to question number 3. And here we go in the next 2 seconds. Which of the following is not a valid IAM policy element in AWS? Is it a user? Is it a version? Is it a statement or a condition? Okay, which of this is not a valid IAM policy element? Okay, 15 seconds to go. I think this will be an easy one. Okay, time's up. The answer is users. We have version, statement, and condition in IAM policy, but we don't have users. Okay, we have a slight change in the leaderboard. Okay, on the first place we have Arvind, second place is Gopi, and on the third position we have Mohammed. Okay, let's move on to the next question. That is the fourth question. An organization policy states that all encryption key must be automatically rotated every 12 months. So which AWS KMS key type should be used to meet this requirement? Is it customer managed key or customer managed CMK with AWS generated key material? or CMK with imported key material or AWS managed data. Okay, be sure that it is 12 months. So the answer is AWS managed customer master key. Again, we have a slight change in the leaderboard. On the first place, we have Mohammed. On the second place, we have Gopi. And on the third place, we have Arvind. Okay, let's move on to the next question. That is our fifth question. We are halfway around the quiz. AWS IAM provides dash access control across all of AWS. Okay, it's a very easy question. No? Throughout the AWS security series, we have seen this thing. Okay. Is it full, partial, fine-grained, or none of the above? Last 10 seconds, guys. Okay, so the answer is fine-grained. 60% of the person have given the correct answer. And we have a change in the leaderboard again. On the first place, we have Gopi. Second place is Arvind. Third place is Mohammed. Cool. Let's move on to the next question. That is our sixth question. Okay, come on, guys. A security engine has been informed that a user access key has been found on GitHub. The engine must ensure that the access key cannot be continued to be used and must access whether the access key was used to perform any unauthorized activity. Which step you will be taking? Okay, is it A, B, C, or D? Okay, so the answer is you will delete or rotate the user key, and for reviewing, we will see the CloudTrail logs. Okay, we have the leaderboard as same. Let's move on to the next question. That is our seventh question. Okay. A company is using AWS Lambda to process sensitive data and wants to ensure that the data is not encrypted or intercepted or modified during transit. Which of the following AWS services can they use to achieve this? Is it Shield, AWS WAF, AWS Certificate Manager, or AWS KMS? Okay, which one could be helpful in this kind of scenario? The last 2 seconds. Okay. It is the AWS Certificate Manager. So we can add as a SSL thing, and then we can restrict that. Okay. Again, we have a change in the leaderboard. On the first place, we have Gopi. Second place is Arvind, and third place is Prasanna. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, we have 3 more questions to go. Which AWS service help with auditing by recording configuration and changes in the AWS resources over time? Is it CloudTrail, CloudWatch, AWS Config, and AWS Resource Manager? Okay, we have learned about this in the bootcamp. Last 5 seconds. Okay, 75% of given the correct answer, that is AWS Config. And I don't see any change in the leaderboard for now. Let's move on to the next question. That is question number 9. Which AWS security tasks are users' responsibility? Is it securing data with encryption, administrating IAM, configuring security groups, all of the above, and none of the above? So which one is the user's task, not AWS? It is the user's responsibilities. Okay, last 6 seconds. And here we go with our answer. It is all of the above. All of the above are the user's responsibility and not AWS. I don't see any change in the leaderboard. Now let's move on to the last question of the security series. Okay, again 5, in 3 seconds. 2, 1, and here we go. What is the main benefit of using AWS Control Tower? Okay, it simplifies and set up multi-account environment. It provides unlimited resource to AWS. It automate billing, and it enable to manage AWS resources from mobile device. Last 10 seconds, guys. Quickly give up the answer. Okay, so I see almost everyone have given the correct answer. Okay, it is decreasing. Okay, so let us check. Okay, so here are our winner for this quiz. On the first place, we have Arvind. On the second place, we have Gopi. And on the third place, we have Prasanna, followed by Akhilan and Mohammed. Okay, congratulations, guys. So this is the leaderboard of this quiz. We will be having the leaderboard of the whole tournament. So give me a moment. Let me give me a moment. Okay. Okay. So we are done with the quiz. Let's move on to the most awaiting part. That is the prizes or the winners of our multiple domains. So we have run multiple things throughout the security series. We had quiz, we had even the blogging contest and everything. So I will be announcing that thing, who all are the winners and what they will be receiving the awards and everything. Okay, give me a moment. Okay. So I'm really excited for this. I hope everyone is excited to see their name. Cool. Okay. Sanjit, let me know if my screen is visible.
Yes, your screen is visible.
Okay. So for our first category, that is the most engaging participants. So we have seen throughout our security series that we have gone through, like who all are the most engaging one, and who all have participated most, who have asked more questions, who have given more replies and everything. So we have been through all the statistics, and we have selected few candidates that are most engaging participants. So here are the winners. Okay. We have Prasanna and we have Sagnik Adhikari, okay, for the winner of most engaging participants. So congratulations, both of you. Okay. So for most engaging participants, we will be giving a DynamoDB book and a $50 credits so that they can do stuffs on their AWS account. Okay. So this was our first category. The second category is the blogging concept, which we have done, which we have run throughout the security series. Okay, so they have written a blog on the sessions which was there throughout the boot camp, or I could say security series boot camp. Okay, so we have selected the best three blogs out of which we have received. Okay, again, the winners for the blogs are Sashank Abhishek, Rohit Gumre, and Manip Sen. Okay. So these are all the winners. Congratulations, Sashank, Rohit, and Manip. Okay, you are the winners for the blogging contest. And for the blogging, we will be giving $25 credit to all of them. And again, we have a special JetBrains subscription that we will be giving to the winners of Blogathon. Okay. And the most awaited thing that we have been participating around this, we have been running quizzes and everything, and we have said that it will be kind of a tournament, and at the end of the bootcamp we will be declaring winners. Okay. So the next category and our final category is quiz. Okay. So can we have some guesses in the chats? Can you type your name? Are you confident enough that you will win? Okay. I'm
I can
waiting.
give a spot award for the person who can guess all the 3 names.
Yeah.
So any guesses? Who are the winners? I think the data is already with you guys. You can look into the leaderboard.
Yeah, because leaderboard is shared in every session, so you might take a calculated guess.
Someone is saying Arvind, Gopi.
Again, guys, it is not for today's one. It is throughout the security series. Okay, okay,
I think let's bring up the winners.
okay. First, let me announce the prize for this one. Okay, so quiz we have like we have thought of prize that will be helpful. Okay, so what we have done is like um, we have asked the AWS team, and we have organized a 50% off voucher for AWS security specialty, yeah, which Disha has like gone through, like she has explained everything. So you get 50% voucher, okay, off voucher, and again you have $25 credit so that you can practice. Now let's move on to the winners. Okay, and here are the winners. We have Arvind Malai Muttu, and we have Prasanna, and we have Akhilan. Okay, so congratulations, 3 of you. Okay, you have been consistently winning, throughout the blog, throughout the quiz of our bootcamp. So, as I have told on the first session only, that consistency will win. Okay, it is not that you win one round and you skip 2, 3 sessions. So they have been consistent, and they have won this quiz. Okay, congratulations, 3 of you. Okay, over to you, Sanchit. I'm done from my part.
Thanks, Tejas. Thank you so much. Congratulations to all the winners out here. And as Tejas mentioned, we really appreciate that you took out the time from all of your wonderful weekends and join the session, learn from it. So, all the congratulations to all the winners. And I will request to all the winners, please share your email IDs with Tejas or me via Slack, Mumbai Slack, or on LinkedIn, so we can share and give your contribution, whatever the rewards you are received, we can give you as soon as possible. So please do that after the session so we can close and share your wonderful rewards to you. So that's about what we promised about the recognitions and rewards. Now I'll move towards the last and the last. I know it's sad, but to call out, but this is the last section of our today's series, a wonderful series which span across roughly 9 weeks, 10 different sessions. And let me bring up the last presentation of it. Give me 1 second. So we started this entire series. If I just quickly give a recap, we started this entire series on March 11 with an idea and a vision to teach, share, or upscale people on security so they can secure the workload. We have wonderful participation from the audiences. I think all the panels speakers have given a good feedback. So I really appreciate you guys for asking all the right questions and learning from it. And there are many other hard works which are done by the volunteers, speakers, community, the other partners, community partners, and all. So I want to really thank everyone who has made this dream, which we thought to start in January 2023, that okay, we want to do something on security, We were in the in-person recap event, and I just took the stage and I said, okay, hey, let's do this. And without thinking anything about the background, how we are going to do it, what we are going to do it, just it was someone said, okay, hey, why don't you do anything on security? I was like, okay, there is a moment, let me go and talk about it. And in just 2 months, we come up with idea, and that idea turn into the execution, and we see this event turning out to be a great success for us. Let me quickly talk about and appreciate to all of our speakers. I mean, the words are less to define, and thank them for their contributions, what they have done for the community. There are many wonderful sessions where they have given their expertise and all. I know as a participant, as a panel, it becomes very difficult because this is a vacation time or many holidays and other stuff. So you guys have not got a chance to go through all of your sessions. So we have captured and recorded on-demand version of all the sessions. I've shared the link of the entire playlist of the security series, what we have done, the 10 sessions set, and we have recorded and put this in the playlist. I would request all of you, whenever you get a chance, may not be this weekend, next weekend, is a very immense technical knowledge you're going to get on security in very compiled and thorough list. So please go through that. In the interest, by tomorrow or by latest by mid of next week, I'll also share the entire presentation of what the panels have given in terms of their reference links, their codes, and other stuff, right? So please do also go to the presentation, and the presentation, as I said, will only be given to the folks who have registered with us because we don't have your email IDs. So it's not too late. If you can register it today itself, please do it. And if you're facing any issue, obviously you can reach out to me on the LinkedIn. So I want to thank to all the speakers: Aishwarya, Disha, Gaurav, Manish, Raji, Shashank, and Faisal. So spending out their time from their wonderful weekend and helping us to learn from their expertise, right? I also want to thank to all our community partners. Community partners are the medium to promote. As I mentioned, right, it's not necessary that you are part from UG Mumbai. You can be part of UG Hyderabad or Indore or Nasik, right? So this is not possible without just one UG coming and hosting it. We need community backups, we need the promotions, we need their supports, guidance. So this is not possible without our wonderful community partners. From AWS user group, we have support from Hyderabad, Indore, Nasik, Dehradun, and as well as we have support from our external community partners like CSA, CNCF Thane, and DevOps community. So I appreciate to all our community partners that they took out the time and they trust us to go and support us, right? So thank you so much to all the community partners. And coming towards the last thing, and let me get a guest speaker also or the surprise person here too on the stage for that. What next? We are done with the security. This is the question which I always get right at the end of an event, which I do in person or a virtual series. Hey, this is what done. What are you doing next for us? What is next? What is the next thing, right? Well, you guys want to keep us on the toes, so there is something which is already cooking out. The dates are not yet final, but we have already planned something out. And I'll take a pause. I want to play this as a surprise. I'm pretty sure not even the user group Mumbai volunteers do have an idea about this. Can you put what is the next series or next thing what we are doing? And again, a hint, as I already said, it is going to be a series. So can you put in the chat what is the next thing we are doing here? And again, just to play one more surprise, this is going to be in collaboration or co-host with user group there, Hyderabad. So user group Mumbai and Hyderabad are going to co-host together that series. So any guesses what that series will be? And this is going to be a spot award. This will be a spot award of $25 AWS credits. So take and with your chance. Networking.
Somebody
Nice.
said network because I think I took
You're
the network
expert.
session, so they thought that I'm doing networking. So,
Good guess. Serverless, we already did last year with AWS on a Maharashtra level. We did that serverless, but a good one. Solution architect, we have already done a bootcamp last year itself. I mean, this entire bootcamp series was started from Solution Architect Associate Certification. This is the second one in that kitty. Any more guesses? I know everyone is looking out for a lunch. Someone has started with 8. They just not done that. You're not allowed to give a hint on that front. Someone is saying data. Well architect framework. Nice. By the way, a good idea about doing well architect framework. Someone has already been close enough to answer that. Not, I would say 50% there. 50%, remaining 50% is there. Serverless, I think, as I mentioned. So, okay, not wasting much time. I know we are all looking forward towards lunch and I think to spend a wonderful weekend. So here we go. The next thing what we will be doing after this is AWS Analytics Bootcamp, which is where we will go through a scenario hands-on workshop or bootcamp series of sessions to ensure that you have a right understanding of analytics, the different services of analytics, and you understand by doing the hands-on. As the same question which was asked by the panel, there are many services what we have on security. The same applies true for analytics. So what are the services, how we can design it? So this will be a very different, again, as we have branded this as a boot camp, but there's going to be a something very different way we will be organizing this boot camp. It's not going to be a normal theoretical kind of thing. It's going to be a full hands-on boot camp series, which will make sure that you learn how to analyze your data, explore your data, and get insights from it. So that's what AWS User Group Mumbai and Hyderabad is going to do that. And for all the participants who are engaged and have joined us, I'm giving a chance to register with us as an early bird. So we are also opening the registration for this boot camp. The link, I am flashing it on the screen as well as I shared on the chat. I would request everyone, please register today. The advantage is as simple. You register it now or you register it after when it go live. If you register it now, you will be more up to date and updated about the things, the events, the curriculum, what we are forming upfront without even getting anyone, right? So please do register it. The registration is open right now. So you have the link, you know what's cooking next. So that's the big surprise for all of you. And I'll pass it on to Faisal. Faisal, do you want to add something here?
Yeah, I just want to add here that Sanchit has been doing a lot of these bootcamp sessions. Last year also we did one. This year also we did the security one. So we talked and we were kind of thinking how we can make this more interactive, how we can make this more valuable to all of the audiences that are coming in. So we have some plans in terms of how we want to do this, and it's not going to be like the current sessions that we have did, right? Like Sanchit said, we're trying to make it as hands-on as possible, and also we are kind of going to be using a platform that we kind of built specifically for this purpose, where it is only people who are registered part of the boot camp will actually get access to that, and it's almost like a classroom thing, right? So it's a platform that we built out just specifically for sessions like these. So we are also excited to try that out. We are also excited to see you actually be more interactive rather than, on YouTube, especially on StreamYard and YouTube and these things, we have like a delay that happens whenever we try to tell something. And when you have questions, it's not like real time. So we want to give that real time experience, right? So we are planning on this. We will let you know the dates as soon as possible. So if you want to know the dates, like Sanchit said, make sure you're registered for the bootcamp.
Cool. Awesome. So I've opened up all my cards. And with that, I want to, with heavy heart, want to bring the closure of our AWS security series. I really appreciate to everyone from AWS, Ridhima, Shafraz, who are from the developer community, as well as the community leaders, as well as all our speakers and the community partners. Thank you so much for all the love, all the motivations, and all the guidance and support you have given us to host this out. It looks easy, but it's not that easy. So really appreciate all of the guidance and motivation and love we have received in last 2 months to host this out. And we already have something for you, so you can take a quick vacation. If you have not planned, take this vacation. You already have analytics that's coming out, and as Faisal mentioned, it's going to be more hands-on, not kind of like a YouTube kind of thing. So take your vacation, and we will see you soon with the analytics series. And obviously, within the analytics series, we are not going saying that the next will be analytics. There are many other things which user group Hyderabad is doing, other user groups including Mumbai will be doing, which is more around other kinds of stuff. So please do register. Stay tuned. I'll see you at the next event. So that's all from the AWS User Group India, AWS User Group Mumbai. And thank you so much for being a wonderful audience. I'll see you at the next event. Thank you.